Hey everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Artisan Pirate here, and in today's fun Scroll Saw Project video, we have an amazing jump into the fall season design from the latest issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing. Really cool. The magazine in question is the Fall 2024 issue 96 edition, so they're closing in on a massive 100 individual issues of this amazing magazine catered to Scroll Saw woodworkers everywhere. The design for today in question begins on page 15, and it says, Signs of Autumn. Bring the vibrant changes of the season into your home decor by John Deck. So thank you, John, for this amazing design. He does offer two in this magazine, and we're going to be focusing on this one here. It is a nice oval shape with some fall accent leaves on it, and it says Welcome Autumn. And it looks like in the magazine he put some kind of paneling as the backer board, and that looks really unique. I do not have none of that on hand, so we will of course rummage around in the scrap bin to my side here and find a suitable piece to make the backer board out of. But the full-size patterns follow on the following pages, as well as a list of materials you may need to create this creative fall design. I've already got the patterns photocopied to their full size and attached to our material with clear packing tape. And for the three accent leaves, we're going to be using a piece of 1/4-inch poplar. I felt like that grain direction would look really cool once it's clear coated and make it really look like leaves that are flying through the air during the fall seasons after they have let go of the trees they were on during the summer. And the main bulk of the scroll saw work is going to be this thin piece of 1/4-inch material with the main portion of everything. Again, you have the oval frame here, the beautiful font of Welcome Autumn, and this is going to be a very fragile and tedious cut over on the scroll saw, especially with the material being so thin. And you will see that the W and the A are the only pieces connected to the main frame here that will make up the project. The rest of the words here are floaters. So once we get those carefully cut out, we will set those aside, and I will of course take my time and let the blade do the work because they're going to be very fragile here, and I will probably opt to hand sand these as opposed to using an electrical and more aggressive sander to where I do not break none of the letters, but they will be glued on after everything else has been assembled to make the creative design. And of course we will find a backer board in the scrap bin, but since everything is pretty much prepared, let's grab our traditional fall pumpkin spice coffee, move the camera over to the workbench, and get started. And over here on the workbench, we will take the Seiko Scroller's drill and drill out all of the pilot holes for internal cutting. And there's not very many on this project, but then we will head over to the scroll saw and begin scrolling. We will begin by cutting out the three accent leaf pieces here, which is basic outside perimeter cuts, and this is 1/4-inch poplar we are cutting out. And for all of the scrolling on this project, I'll be using a number 5 Ultra reverse tooth blade, and it will cut through all of the material in today's video exceptionally well with minimal chip out. And I've always loved using poplar at the scroll saw because it cuts very smoothly. But after the leaves are cut out, we will begin by cutting out the words here. And after the internal cuts are done, we can begin to release the words. And these are very fragile and delicate cuts, so I am of course taking my time and letting the blade do the work, and I'm being as loyal as I can be to the cut line. But I will come around here, and once the cut is done, I will very carefully remove the piece from the waste wood and set it aside. And I don't want to make any sudden movements because I don't want to break any of the letters off as I'm removing them. So I'm being as careful as I can be. And if you have a variable speed scroll saw, you can slow it down to where you have better control of the cut. But I am very confident in my abilities as a scroll saw woodworker at the speed I like to work in. But once the other word is cut out here, we will again be very careful when we remove it from the waste wood, and once it is set aside, we can begin the final internal cut on this piece of material. If you guys would like to try this pattern, it's available in the Fall 2024 issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing. A really neat and creative fall and autumn design. But we will do this final internal cut and retension the blade, and we will release the frame piece here from the waste wood, and it will also be very fragile, so we will be careful with it. If you guys like what you're seeing, I would highly encourage you to subscribe to my channel and also follow me across all my social medias under the Artisan Pirate name. I'd really appreciate the support. Now we can prep for a backer board, and this is just scrap 1/2 inch plywood, and I'll use the washer technique here and firm pressure to trace around the perimeter to get a perfect backer board, and we'll head back over to the scroll saw for the final bit of scrolling, still using that same number 5 ultra reverse tooth blade. And from this angle you can see the angle that my scroll saw is on, and this is very comfortable for me, and it reduces neck and shoulder strain for when you spend a lot of time at the scroll saw. But now that all of the scrolling is done, we'll get our first visual of what the finished piece will look like. And now we can prep for sanding. And I'll only sand the 1/2 inch backer board with 180 grit Klingspor Woodworking Shop sandpaper and my vibrating palm sander here. The rest of the small and fragile pieces I will opt to sand by hand with a high grit Klingspor Woodworking Shop sandpaper. And I'm being very careful here so as not to break or chip anything off. And I'll be especially careful with the words and the frame piece here. But once I am happy with all of the sanding, we can proceed to the finishing stages by adding a splash of color. And I'll finish it just like in the magazine. And I'll spray paint the backer board white. And this is Rust-Oleum brand spray paint I am using. And then the frame and the words, we will spray paint a glossy orange. A nice fall color here. And then I'll set everything in front of fans to help accelerate drying time. And while everything is drying, I'll finish my coffee while reading the latest issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing. These magazines are always worth picking up because they are packed with amazing articles and patterns for scroll saw woodworking. But after everything is dry, we can proceed to the glue up with medium grade CA glue and activator. And I'll press everything home. And once again, I'm being very careful so I don't break any of the fragile pieces. And once I press all of the pieces home, once the glue is applied, I will spray it with the activator and give it around 5 minutes to make sure that that glue has grabbed and cured. And then we'll take it outside into the sun and give it several coats of Rust-Oleum clear gloss. And when that dries, the project is complete. And here we have the completed Welcome Autumn piece, cut out completely from start to finish over on the scroll saw, and it finished up amazingly well with some beautiful and crisp details in it. Thank you once again to Mr. John Deck for the amazing and creative design from the latest issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing. Really great project to jump into the fall and autumn months here. It took me around 30 to 35 minutes to scroll the project out completely from start to finish. It's not an overly complex design. It's just with the nature and some of the fragile cuts on here that can potentially break and chip away, you need to, of course, take your time and let the blade do the work. I'll show you guys a little bit closer look here. Everything that you see here that is orange is one piece of 1/4 inch material that I showed you prepped at the beginning of the video, and only the W and the A are connected to this oval border here that is orange. The rest of the words, once you carefully get those scrolled out on the scroll saw, become floaters, and they are very fragile and delicate, and they need to be sanded preferably by hand before painting or staining them and then gluing them to the backer board. That is why I used a thicker 1/2 inch piece of plywood for the backer board to support all this fragile and delicate work. And then you have the 3 poplar leaves here that are cut out of 1/4 inch poplar. And I would have liked to have mixed and matched some different species of wood, maybe put oak in here and cedar as well for some just different colors and textures and everything, but they still look once the clear coat was applied, like fall leaves flying through the breeze, you know, once they let go from the trees they have been hanging onto since spring of the year. But it all finished up amazingly well, and the clear coat makes everything pop and ties everything together. The spray paint I used today was of the Rust-Oleum brand, and then the clear coat, of course, we used for an ultimate finish is also the Rust-Oleum brand. The longest time I had in this project, as I said, it only took around 35 minutes to scroll everything out, was waiting for paint to dry. But if you cut this project out of exotic or hardwood, you might not even need a paint or stain or anything like that, and you could just use the natural textures and colors. Once again, showing off a Scroll Saw Pattern's amazing versatility. But I finished this one almost exactly like they had it in the magazine. I'll try to hold both of them up here together. There you see the one that John made, and again, it looks like it has a piece of shiplap paneling on the back of it. I, of course, didn't have none of that in the workshop, so I just went with a piece of plywood I painted white, and it still finished up amazingly well. But by all means, think outside of the box when it comes to finishing Scroll Saw woodworking patterns. They always come out great when you let your ideas run wild and just show off your creative and versatile nature when it comes to being out in your workshop. But I feel this is an appropriate project to jump into the fall and autumn seasons. I'm really looking forward to those crisp autumn mornings, you know, where you can have a light coat on in the morning, but then just go down to a t-shirt after lunch and into the afternoon. Those are always great days to spend, you know, thinking and creating and reading a good book with a cup of that ever popular pumpkin spice coffee. I'm going to once again show the magazine here. The design, as I said, is from the latest issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing, Fall 2024, issue 96, available now at foxchapelpublishing.com. And the design and article we did today, again, begins on page 15, and the full-size patterns follow on the following pages. This is where we photocopied everything to get the designs attached to the material. But it finished up, once again, amazingly well. I hope you guys enjoyed following along on today's video, and hopefully you guys picked up a tip or tidbit along the way. I had a lot of fun making this project and getting ready for the fall and cooler months that are approaching here in 2024. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you'll click that subscribe button and also follow me across all my social medias under the Artisan Pirate name. As always, links to contact me as well as all my social medias will always be linked down in the description box below these videos. That's about all for this one, and remember guys, if I can make it or do it, so can you. I'm the Artisan Pirate. Take care, and I'll see you guys real soon.